Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Nintendo Switch was released on March 25th, 2022 in North America, and I've been putting in a couple hours each night after work. I'm going to mention this right here at the top. I've never beaten a Kirby game until now. I have very little experience with Kirby aside from playing him in Smash Bros. I've played a few Kirby games in the past, but didn't spend too much time with them as I found them to be pretty simple and too easy to keep my attention. That's just the way Kirby games typically are, but this one I feel has a good balance of easy and difficult aspects, and this is a great play for gamers of any skill level. Younger kids will find this easy to jump into and play, but more seasoned players will find challenge in completing every task and side level this game has to offer. Some objectives are so freaking difficult, so I don't want to hear any complaining that this game is too easy. I saw the Nintendo Direct where the game was first shown off, but I didn't look into it at all after that. I prefer to go into games without knowing a ton about them, and because of that, the game ended up being pretty different from what I expected, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I had incorrectly assumed that this was basically a Kirby version of Super Mario Odyssey. It's actually way more similar to Super Mario 3D World, which is awesome because I really love that game. There is an overworld map where you enter the level of your choosing, and there's a goal at the end which you must reach to advance. This is the type of game that you can pick up and play for just a few minutes, or continue on for hours if you choose to do so. If you're crazy like me, you might find yourself trying to 100% the game as you go, and if you are, you need to stop. It's becoming a problem. In terms of the experience of loading up the game and playing, I have no complaints at all. There wasn't even a day one patch or download, which is almost expected these days with new releases. I had no technical issues, no slowdown, no texture popping, glitches, or bugs of any kind. A company releasing a fully completed game shouldn't be such a big deal, but with games like Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky in the not-so-distant past, it's refreshing to see something come out with no need for additional patches or updates. This game is ready to go the instant you put it into your Switch. I'm so sorry to the GTA fans out there if Rockstar could only hire HAL Laboratory to do their next remaster. The visuals here are gorgeous, not at all what I expected from a Kirby game, although I have enjoyed the graphics of games like Kirby's Epic Yarn. That was a very different style. What we have with Forgotten Land is more realistic and sometimes almost feels out of place with the colorful, cartoon-like characters and enemies. The post-apocalyptic environments in this game are unexpected for Kirby, but the developers really put in a lot of effort to make it feel authentic and believable. While playing, you are sure that the areas you're exploring are no longer inhabited by whatever life forms built them. They're now taken over by a new generation of creatures. The attention to detail with the visuals in the game are amazing. The world is alive and breathing. Unlike my grandpa. Oh, and the music is fantastic. This is a standard 3D platformer, but the charm and love put into it makes it stand out among the crowd. The controls are very smooth and intuitive. After the quick tutorial at the beginning, you rarely will need to relearn or think about any of the controller inputs required to play. New moves and abilities are quickly added, but they all control very similarly to each other, so you won't be overwhelmed with learning how to use them. Each ability will also be slowly upgraded throughout the game, so while the basic move and controls are the same, the look and effect of each ability changes over time, keeping it very fresh and exciting to try out a new move. I love trying out new moves, which is why your mother and I will be dining at Red Lobster tomorrow evening, so you'll need to make your own dinner. The boss battles in the game are not too difficult, as you're allowed to use any ability of your choosing to fight. Each boss has its own pattern and attacks to learn, but there are no special things you must do in order to beat them. Just making sure you don't lose all your health and spamming attack is good enough to defeat any boss in the game. The difficulty comes with the mini objectives of each level. You might be attempting to not take a single hit, or only use a specific weapon during a boss battle, which can be very difficult, especially if it's one of your least favorite abilities. I feel that some power-ups are easier to use than others, so if the task requires you to use one that you find more difficult to control, that is an added challenge that it's not required, but it's a nice addition for players who want something harder. I'll refer those players back to my comment about your mom. The level design is an area where the game really shines. Each world has its own theme, and it's very nicely portrayed in each level. I never felt that a level was out of place, and each world really felt different than the one before. You might be in a dry desert, a snow-filled winter wonderland, a decaying city, or a lively amusement park. There are certain enemies that are more prominent in specific areas, but most of them can be found in multiple worlds or levels. You may also need to use specific abilities in a particular area to satisfy the mini objectives, but you can literally run through an entire level without any power-up and make it to the end, completing the level in less than a few minutes. The game really allows you to play however you want, even if the game is very linear. You will encounter different types of gameplay depending on the level you are tackling. Standard levels may incorporate driving or flying sections, puzzle elements, mini-bosses, and lots of secrets to find, while the mini-side levels are time-based challenges where you need to use a specific ability to reach the end goal. There are multiple of these mini ability-based levels in each world, some of which are hidden. I spent a lot of time on these myself, trying to hit the target time, which can be pretty challenging, but fun to master as you need to almost be perfect in your execution of these levels to complete them by the given time. Some of these levels will be locked until you upgrade the needed ability. Towards the end of the game, assuming you try to play all of the levels along the way, you will have a majority of the abilities upgraded at least once. A new addition to the Kirby series in this game is Mouthful mode, which is essentially the opposite of a normal Kirby copy ability. Typically, you inhale something and it gives Kirby a new move, whether that's a sword, or firepower, or a variety of other weapons, but with Mouthful mode, Kirby only partially inhales an item, mostly because it's too large, and Kirby takes the shape of the item. This allows Kirby to transform into different objects in the game, which all have their own unique capabilities. You can turn into a drivable car, a traffic cone, or even a vending machine that can dispense soda cans as projectile weapons. These sections are used to break up the gameplay a bit and provide some variety. They are used just enough to not feel forced, and it's a fun experience to figure out what each new item will allow Kirby to do. I'm not even going to make another joke about your mom and Mouthful mode, that's just going too far. Older platformers like Donkey Kong 64 or Banjo-Kazooie have a ton of collectibles in the game, but they're all the same no matter what levels you're in. In this Kirby game, there are lots of collectibles, but they're all super varied and change depending on what levels you are playing. Every item has a use. Most collected items will just be an objective to complete in a level, like wanted posters or snow animals, and this aspect of the game reminds me of the original Tony Hawk games. Coins are used to upgrade abilities, buy food from the cafe, or to unlock minifigures from the Gashapon machines in the game. You will also find hidden scrolls in certain levels which act as blueprints to the next level of abilities, and they cannot be upgraded until these scrolls are gathered. Collecting or saving Waddle Dees in the game is the main goal, and the more you save, the bigger Waddle Dee Town grows, which is like the main home world of the game. This is where you will find Kirby's house, which you can sleep in to regain health, a cafe where you can buy different kinds of food, the armory where you can select and upgrade all of Kirby's different abilities, and a few mini-games. There is a percentage counter in the pause menu of the game, which allows you to see the progress you're making while you play. There will be no running around aimlessly wondering if you've done everything, which, as a completionist, I love. What makes this a great game for any skill level is that you don't have to collect anything or complete any tasks aside from getting from the beginning to the end of each level. Depending on how you like to play, you can put in work and grind for every objective, or just leisurely stroll through the levels enjoying the scenery and happy atmosphere. The Kirby franchise is one of the best examples of a truly smile-inducing gaming experience. It's not about a super hard challenge or getting the most kills, it's just a really nice, cute, and fun game. It's hard to say anything bad about a game that only aims to make you smile. Kind of like that one coworker of yours that is always bringing in donuts or buying pizza for the whole office. You want to find a flaw in them so you can justify not liking them, but it's just impossible, and you need to admit they're just a better person than you. There is some post-game content that is unlocked once you defeat the final boss, which took me a few tries, but it wasn't the most difficult battle of the game in my opinion. There might be a bit of a spoiler here, but the post-game content is a bit of a letdown. It just has you repeating sections of older levels, collecting a ton of just one item. It would have been nice to see new levels, but since the game is so fun, it's not a problem to replay areas, it just could have been something a bit more. With all the varying things to do in the game, you won't get bored while playing, as you can take a break from the standard levels and just focus on the side levels, play some of the mini-games, or just farm for collectible figurines from the Gashapon machines. I routinely found myself doing just one thing over and over, and then when I thought I might be done playing for the night, I went and played a different part of the game and just kept going. It's not the most varied game on the Switch or anything, but there's enough here to keep your interest for a good play session. This game really is a fun playthrough, and I'll definitely be recommending it to anyone looking for an easy game for their kids, or to someone who loves platformers like I do. The challenge is there if you want it, but don't let that scare you. As I said before, it's not required. If you're a fan of the Mario series, Banjo-Kazooie, Spyro, or any other 3D platform style games, you'll find something to love about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Please let me know in the comments if you have played this one, or if you've played any other Kirby games and what you think of them. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more reviews.